long, we've been talking about race and identity and how much does one influence the other. It's a topic that the hit ABC show Mixedish tackled in the season 2 premiere. The Blackish prequel follows a mixed-race family in the 80s, navigating a world where the kids are perceived as neither black nor white.
Johan, why would you want people to think you were Mexican?
Not that there's anything wrong with being Mexican.
No.
I would love you just the same even if you were Mexican or Hispanic or Latino. Are those the same?
Get it together.
What are you talking about? This is going great. I'm nailing it.
It's not my fault. It all just kind of snowballed. Some people thought I was Mexican, and it was just easier not to correct them.
Johan, it's not okay to pretend to be a different race.
Who's it hurting? Honestly, it's the smartest thing I've done. I've got more friends, and I'm already planning my quinceañera.
Joining me now, the stars of Mixedish, Tika Sumpter, Mark Paul Gosselaar, and Christina Anthony. Good to have you back on the show. So happy to talk with you all. Tika, this episode, you guys take on this tough and difficult conversation, clearly, with humor and love, but that episode hit a nerve, Tika.
Yeah, I mean, it's our child, played by Ethan Childress, Johan, who felt like it was just easier to be someone else rather than correcting, his classmates that, actually I'm of mixed race, I'm black and white. He thought, oh, Mexican, I can deal with this. And we just had to figure out how to, kind of let him know that it's not okay to pretend to be somebody else in some other race. And what he did say in that clip was, well, who is it hurting, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems innocent, but it could possibly hurt a lot of people. And it's just, for us in that situation, it wasn't okay to lie.
Right. You have a mixed race child, as I do. When you read that script in particular, because it does hit home, did you have that gulp moment where, yeah, my child's not going to hopefully say that he's not a whole nother race, but you are both. And both of these are your journey.
Yeah, I think every day I think I'm, it's hard to, I just don't know how exactly I'm going to even get through all of these talks. I think this is what this show helps me to do.
Yeah.
Because whatever whatever Ella decides to identify as, whether it's, a black girl, or a white girl, or both, that's going to be her decision, and I'm hoping.
Would you be okay if she identified as a white girl?
I don't know if I could totally be okay with that, because I'm her mom and I'm black, and so she's part of me. And so that's kind of dismissing a whole part of who she is, right? But, whatever Ella chooses, obviously I'm going to protect and hold her up, right? But what I'm doing, my part, which we do on the show, is filling our kids and infusing our kids with knowledge, education, not only that, but with enthusiasm about who they actually are, and surrounding them with other people who look like them.
Full disclosure, speaking of protective, when I asked you that question, Mark Paul tilted his head a little bit. The reason why I asked her the question, would she be okay with her daughter identifying as white, because you said, Ella, whether she's black or white, I'm okay with it. And that was a natural follow-up to it. But Mark Paul, this hits personal for you. After you were on our show discussing your background, your mother's Indonesian, your father's Dutch. If I had $1 for every person who said, I didn't know Mark Paul was mixed race, I would own ABC, because everyone kept coming up to me asking. And it's not as if you ever denied it. It's just for whatever reason, people weren't asking you about it until this great show, which provokes these conversations.
Yeah, I grew up, and I've talked about this before, I grew up fortunately and unfortunately not having that conversation. Because of the way I looked. No one questioned it. I went to school. I never had a question about race outside of my home, and actually inside my home. My father was my father, and my mother was my mother. And I never even questioned why my mom looked different than me, because it was never a conversation. Yeah.
Christina, you're here, and I know everyone's saying, well, what is she going to ask Christina? Like, there are identity struggles.
Girl, I'm black. I'm black.
Listen.
So
I knew it. It's like everyone holds their breath. But what is she going to ask Christina? Listen, but in reality, there is an identity struggle even within being a Black woman. Code switching. You and Tika both talked about how there is a way we talk amongst our friends who are Black, and then there's a transition. And in Hollywood, you both face that at different times. The code switch. How do I talk when I go in for this audition versus when I get back in the car calling my girlfriend to explain the audition?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it comes up on Mixedish as well. We play two sisters who grew up in the same household, but one of us chooses to use, African American vernacular, Black American Standard English, and, not code switch. And the other, Alicia, she's working in a law firm and she chooses to code switch. And I think that even that diversity of thought, it just shows how Black women are not all the same. And I definitely have had those moments where I am in auditions and I think, how Black can I be? And the beautiful thing about Mixedish is they welcomed my whole Black self. I wasn't just there because I looked a certain way, but actually they wanted my Black mind, they wanted my Black culture, they wanted my experience, and I could bring my full self to the role.
Mark, Paul, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about Dustin Diamond passing away at just 44 years old. And I read your heartfelt tweet in recognition of his talent. How are you holding up? How are you feeling about it? And just your overall thoughts for fans.
Well, it's always tough when someone passes away. I think it's even more so when the individual is someone and the age of Dustin. It was only a few weeks ago that we heard about his diagnosis, and for it to happen so quickly is shocking. But myself and the rest of the cast, we will get together at some point and sort of express our feelings. But yeah, it happened so quickly that we're all just pretty shocked about it.
Well, I think that's something that fans will love to hear, that you're going to get together. So you guys are like family for so many people, and you have the reboot, and to know that you're getting together to just take a beat and recognize the connection all of you have with him.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people may not understand that you can work with somebody for years. You could be very close. You see this person every day for an entire season of shooting. And then once things wrap, the camera stops. You just drift apart. There's no other reason than just, things happen in life. And before you know it, years have passed. And I think that was what happened with Dustin, with the rest of the cast. There was a time where I wasn't talking with anybody of the cast. And I'm sure once we wrap on Mixedish, I may never talk to Christina Anthony or Tika Sumpter ever again.
For some reason, I think you're stuck with both of them. So I don't anticipate that happening. Well, I think the show, and how much I love it, it just gives us an opportunity to talk about things that are difficult, but in a way that allows people to be comfortable. It's a safe, fun space to have a tough conversation sometimes. And those kids are adorable on that show. My goodness. Well, thank you, and congratulations on the new season.
Thank you.